Let's see. It's over here. All right. Morning, Moshe. Are you on a flight again?
Yeah, you're taking off in a few minutes.
Oh, amazing. Safe travels. Yeah, let's get right into it then. Who else do we have online? I can see it. Okay, oh, very nice. We got Rep Paul, Rep Chaim drew in. Very nice. Okay.
Is my son there?
Your son. Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Okay. So just disclaimer. In no way am I taking Rabbi Eli's seat. I actually made sure to move down one seat, And this is actually my first time giving over a Daf Yomi shir. So here it is. Daf Pei Daled Omid Beis. I know Rabbi Eli already covered the Mishnah, but I'm going to go back to the Mishnah because it goes right into the Gemara and the Sugya that we're going to go into. And my hope is to get the Pei Hey Omid Beis to the dot, 3 lines from the top by Bo Minei Rav Sheshes. Right. So you have a buyer and a seller. There's a transaction happening. Mashach v'lo modad. So if the buyer pulls it, but he didn't measure how many items there were. So for example, let's say a seller tells the buyer, "I have apples that I want to sell you. I'm going to give you 25 cents a pop." Oh, Ramesh, your son just arrived. Beautiful, just in time. We just started here. He downloaded my base. What do you feed him in his oatmeal that he comes here 5:30 in the morning? Can you tell me? Like, I want my kids to be like this. It's amazing.
He's on?
Yeah, your father.
Hey, Sean. Yeah, let me say hi.
Here, say hi to your dad.
Hi, I thought you were on the plane already.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm taking.
Oh.
Right. So let's say they say 25 cents an apple. Here's an apple, 25 cents each. And the buyer says, fine, I'm going to buy your whole box of apples. But we don't know yet how many apples there are in the box. There could be 100, 200. So Moshach le'modat konet, as long as the buyer does Mashicha, but he didn't measure how many apples there were, he's konet, and the transaction is valid, and the buyer has to pay to the seller the amount of apples. If it was 100 apples, if it was 200, whatever it was. Modad, however, if modad loy moshach, if the seller counts how many apples, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, here's 100 apples, 25 cents each. You know exactly. We already spoke about this, but the buyer does not do the mashicha like on. Good morning. We just started. Oh, you look good in the white shirt. Fine. So the Mishnah says, here's a trick for the buyer. Yeah. Instead of having to schlep this whole box of apples, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, instead of having to do that, he could rent the area and have the area be kind of for him. So he doesn't have to pick it up. He doesn't have to strain. He doesn't have to break his back. No herniated disc necessary. Yeah. Fine. On to the sefer. Someone that buys fish that blacks from his chaver, until he actually pulls it from one place to another, he's not kidding. Now, however, if it was mechuber lekarka, right? So it's already it's connected to the ground. V'talash kolshu, and he pulls off even a little bit. Kone, he's already pulling it out of its previous conditioning. Yeah, he already made a shino. They already pulled it. He's already fine. Kane. So the kech is kane. Into the Gemara. The pei dalet amud base. Ravasi Rabbi Yechanan. Ravasi says the name of Rabbi Yechanan, who's his teacher. Modad. Good morning. Fast. So what's a symptom? So there's different types of reshus. Yeah, and there's different laws about each reshus, how they can be kaineh, how each reshus can acquire for you, or if they can't acquire, or how to make a kinyan in each one of their different rishus. Good morning. Yeah. So depending on it, like we're gonna see later in the Gemara, depending on type of rishus, that's the type of Mashicha or Hagba, or either you have to pick it up or pull it, or maybe you don't have to do anything, you just have to rent the place, like we said earlier in the Mishnah, it's already kind of for you, your chatzar is kind of for you. Fine. So, Madad Vinechal Gabi Simta, what's a Simta? So there's two explanations in the Rashbam, but simply put, it's like a side alleyway that comes out of the Rishus Harabim. Yeah, so Rishus Harabim doesn't belong to anyone, right? And therefore, like we're going to say later on, ainly Rishus, if you don't have Rishus to put your stuff down in Rishus Harabim, then it can't be kind of for you, right? You can't just put storage. You take all your produce or your wood and just be like, oh look, there's an open street. Let me let me stack it over there. There's a lot of room, plenty of room for everyone. So what's a simta? A simta is a side alleyway where everyone has rishus to do their business dealings over there, which comes right off of Rishus Harabim.
Where the drug dealers sell.
That's where it all goes down, in the alleyways. Yeah, exactly. How do you know? So what's if he puts it al gabi simta? Yeah, he puts it by the simta, the meifer. Yeah, madad v'nech al gabi simta. He measures it. He puts it al gabi simta. Kana is kani. Amle Rav Asi. Rav Zera tells Rav Asi, Shama lo shama Rabbi elo medatzei kupasei. So seemingly, Rav Zera is asking his teacher Rav Asi that you're talking about that the meifer put it into the kilim of the lekeach. Yeah. Just to put it on the ground, the lekeach is kainet. We just said before, you have to be meishich. Just because it's in a simta, you're telling me this is a side alleyway that it suddenly becomes like his rishus, right? So seemingly, he put it into the kalim of the lekeach. The lekeach has a cup. He puts it in the simta. The meicher puts it in, and the keli is kainet for him in the simta, even though it's not his rishus. Amarle, so there's a sharfe werter, yeah. Rav Zera, so Rav Asi tells Rav Zera, Dami haim darbonik the legamri inchi shmaita. Seems like this rabbi over here, this rabbi over here hasn't learned a thing in his life. Wow. Why? You think that my teacher Rabbi Yochanan has to give us a special halacha and teach us that the lekeach's keli is kind of for him? Obviously. It's no chiddush. If I own something, a keli, and you put something into it, and we have a whole transaction and we agree upon it, obviously he's kind of it. So what are, according to Rav Asi, what's his understanding of his teacher Rabbi Yochanan's chiddush? That even if you put it on the ground of a simta, and it doesn't belong to anyone, but it belongs to everyone, basically. Rishus Harabim doesn't belong to anyone, but a simta belongs to everyone. And therefore, it is kind of for lekech, even if he puts it on the ground, even though like meicher puts it on the ground.
Is he putting a keli on the ground, or there's no keli in the case of the simta?
So according to Rav Asi's understanding of his teacher Rabbi Yochanan, that there's no keli. Because if there would have been a keli, then obviously the lekech would be kind of. If it's, yeah.
So if he was in Rishus Harabim, not in the simta, and he was holding the keli and put in the keli, that wouldn't be kona.
It would also. Yeah.
So my
exactly.
They see the same.
Yeah, in a
so it's got to be without the keli.
Right. So what's the chiddush in that? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly what. That's why he threw him off. He's like, "What are you like? What are you, a dummy?"
Better than yesterday. We said rah rah.
A simta's not in Rishus Harabim.
It comes off of Rishus Harabim.
So
it's a smaller alleyway. It's not Rishus Yachid either. It has its own halacha.
Oh.
It's not, you can say it's neither or it's both. Like it belongs to everyone. We'll see later on more of the definition. Fine.
I guess I feel like the dummy now because I thought the dafka, the chiddush here is we're talking about kinyan kotzer, and is a simta good enough for a kinyan kotzer? The Rishus Harabim would not be.
Right.
I think the same action the Rosh Hashanah doesn't accomplish it, kind of, but in the Simta, it does. I think isn't that the Chiddush here?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. That even though Rosh Hashanah doesn't belong to anyone, and it can't be kind for a simta, the alleyway is kind for everyone. It's everyone's Rosh. Everyone could do, what they want over there, transactions, etc., and it should be kind for. See, according to his understanding of his teachers, yeah, we're gonna see later. We're gonna see in a minute that it's not, it's not necessarily that way, but that's what his understanding of is already.
I think a good example of a Simta today is a space in a parking lot.
But what do you mean? Explain.
Well, when you pull in your car, you don't own that space. It's a public parking lot. You don't own that space, but you certainly have an expectation that no one's going to come along and tow your car just because they want the space.
That's if you didn't pay for the meter.
While you're there, you have certain rights in that space. I think that's a Simta today.
It's interesting, actually. I saw a lot of these parking lots are actually privately owned. Just a side note, and they'll give you like a ticket from their own company, nothing to do with the government, whatever. So there's different ways to work around it. Fine. Tashima. Dam Rabbi Rebbe, he wants to bring a right. Yeah. Dam Rabbi Rebbe, Rabbi Yanni says the name of Rebbe. Rabbi Yanni was Rabbi Yochanan's teacher. Yeah. So he says in the name of his teacher, the chatzar of shutun is kainin. Two people own a chatzar, and you have Reuven and Shimon. They both own a chatzar, and Reuven is selling Shimon a box of apples, and he puts it down in the field that they both own. What do we say? They could be kainim for each other. They both own it. So you see, in a way, it's similar to a simta. My lab, I'll be karka. So seemingly, that's all they heard from their teacher, right? The Rabbi Yanai is Rabbi Yochanan's teacher. Rabbi Asi is the student of Rabbi Yochanan. So we're trying to bring a proof, yeah, towards Rabbi Asi. Very good. Student teacher map. We're trying to bring a proof from Rabbi Asi that hey, we learned something similar. That what? My lab, Agabi Karka. That if you have a type of domain that belongs to two people, similar to the simta, that the karka is kaina. He puts it down, yeah, it is kaina. And Rabazi did have the right understanding of his teacher Rabbi Yochanan. But our answer is no. This is talking about that it was put into a kli, put into the kli of the lekech, and therefore it's kaina for him. Now it wouldn't be. It also makes sense to use this logic that it was l'seich kupase. Why? Because we have another halacha that we see in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Bring another dam Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yochanan. Madad, if he measured it, simta, the mecher measured how many apples there were, and he put it down on a simta, or shus that belongs to both of them. Loikana. This is a clear befer shalach where you see that you put it down on the floor of a simta, a reshus that belongs to everyone. Loikana, it's not kaina. So what's the obvious question?
Seems the opposite of what we just said.
Very good. Kasha na'adadi. That's a clear contradiction of what you just said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Asi just said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that you put it down on the floor of a simta. Clearly, it's kaina. And over here we see Rabbi Yochanan saying clearly it's not kaina. How could Rabbi Asi have said that? How can he again, he's a student of Rabbi Yochanan, his teacher. We see clearly his teacher saying the opposite. Over here, Rabbi Asi misunderstood his teacher Rabbi Yochanan. And Rabbi Yochanan said in the first case of he puts it down by the simta that he's kaina, that's obviously talking about the seif kupasi was inside of a keli, and therefore it's kaina. Okay. Shmamina. Tashema, the Gemara wants to bring another proof. If a person measures, again, we're bringing a proof supporting furthermore, yeah, that in a simta it's not enough just to measure. Modad, if if he measures, he didn't pull it. Yeah. So there's no kinyan happening. Like kinyan. He's not kinyan. Just to measure it is not enough. Just to measure the box of apples, how many apples are in the box. When you're doing a transaction, the transaction didn't happen yet. He could still back out. That's the whole vert. Like, did the transaction happen yet or not? Oh, actually, I don't want to buy it. What do you mean you don't want to buy it? I had someone else that was going to buy it, and now you don't want to buy it, right? It's all nice and dandy when two people agree to back out of a deal, but if there's a loss, once it could start getting messy. You're like, hey, what do you mean you don't want to buy it? I just took out a loan because I had the backing of your purchase. Yeah, I was. Okay, you back out, like, yeah. So my lab is seemingly when a person measures the amount of apples, but like keach does not make a kinyan. My lab seemingly besimta, talking about this alleyway that comes out for Rosh Hashanah that we spoke about. So the answer is loy Rosh Hashanah. No, it's talking about Rosh Hashanah again. So we're analyzing the Mishnah now. We're trying to understand. Let's look at our Mishnah. What is our Mishnah talking about? Right, the second line that we spoke about, person, right? So like he measures out how many apples will a doesn't pull it, like so my lab, seemingly the Mishnah is talking about a simta. The answer is no, the Mishnah is talking about Rosh Hashanah. Now we're going to go back and forth to try to understand whether the Mishnah is talking about a simta or Rosh Hashanah. We're going to analyze the different cases in the Mishnah. So the Gemara says, if the Mishnah is talking about Rosh Hashanah, and in Rosh Hashanah, it's that you're not koined unless there's Mashiach, right? But in a simta, maybe you would be koined, even if you don't pull it, even if there's no Mashiach.
Excuse me, can you do stop like someone selling a cow to someone else? They're both in the Shisa he can do Mashiach there, right there, both.
So very good. Right now we're gonna go to the cases of what type of kinyans work in Rosh Hashanah. We're gonna do that right now. Very good. If so, see there's Moshe Modad pulls it, but he doesn't count how many apples there are, meaning to say, if the Meicher is selling a box of apples and he makes up a price 25 cents an apple, but he didn't count how many apples there are. And the Lekeach says, okay, just give me the whole box. And he pulls it. He's kind of. Yeah. Mishicha b'Rosh Hashanah mikanya, to pull something in Rosh Hashanah is kind of for you. It's not kind of for you. So it cannot be kind of for you. If you're in a Rosh Hashanah and Mishicha is not one of the ways to be kind of something in a Rosh Hashanah in that domain. And we're going to prove it. We're going to bring in a minute. So therefore, it has to be talking about a simta or some other rishos. But Abai both Abai and Rava, they both agree that Misira handing over to buyer the apple. Here you go. This is for you. And Lekech taking it in his hand.
Yeah.
That works in Rosh Hashanah.
So it's the difference between someone who buys a pocketbook off a vendor and someone who steals the pocketbook off the lady. The one who's Mashech the pocketbook did not go, he's a crook, go after him, you can get it back. The other one bought the pocketbook.
Yeah, I'm saying when you're doing Mashiach, where's the actual item? It's on the ground.
Is it on the ground or is it on the person?
Where do you pull it from?
You're
not pulling it from the person, it's on the ground. You're pulling it. Mashiach. Rosh Hashanah doesn't work. But why? Because it's not your reshus. It's not yours. It's not a reshus to be kind of from. But if it's from person to person, you're a reshus yachid, you're a reshus yachid. Seemingly, that's the logic that we're not using the reshus rabbin to be kind.
Even though we're standing reshus.
Yeah, I'm saying al derech zeh. I don't know exactly if that's the logic, but you're not using necessarily reshus rabbin. You're doing masira. Right.
With cattle, yeah.
With
You have
cattle,
to do shifo, like donkey.
Right.
Horses.
Right.
But with personal too. You have to.
So because it's a moving object, it has its own life. I'm trying to remember what the term is, but an animal has its own life. But that's a good question. We should definitely look into that. Its own chayes, its own energy.
That's why it's called
B'chlal, this whole idea of a person's Dalit Amis being trained for him, there's the Maimer there that discusses this idea that the person's Dalit Amis is kind for him because it's not stam that it fell into your rishus. Oh, and I was, let's say there's something hefker, something on that you find, and it goes into your rishus. Now you have the mitzvah tashavas aveda.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you have the mitzvah and not give it to someone else to find this? Because this was sent to you. This your Dal Amis, your space, right? Filling your space is very much part of your mission in the world and your purpose. So you don't just something that just hit you in the head. Oh, this just happened to fall into my lap. It doesn't just happen. This is connected to your root soul of what you're, this mitzvah came to you. Mitzvah baliyadi. Yeah. Fine. Back into the Gemara. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 lines from the bottom, Pedal and Amid base. What do they both agree upon? The Sira is Kana in Rosh Hashanah or in a Chacher that doesn't belong to both of them. The Shicha, right? We're going to understand what that means in a minute. What does it mean, a Chacher that doesn't belong to both of them? What is it then? Is it a Simta? Is it something else? Like, what does it mean? Is it a third party's? Right? So Masira works in Rosh Hashanah. Meshicha, but if you're going to pull it kind of a Simta, it's kind of in this alleyway that comes out for Rosh Hashanah, or in a Chatzah that belongs to both of them. Agba, what about lifting it up? And any Rishus, if you lift it up like this, it kind of. All right. Kind of a woman, pick up the gartel. Don't pick up the woman, pick up the. All right. Fine. My Moshach. Namedikatani. What does it mean he's Moshech? The Gemara answers, it could even be talking about Meshicha in Rosh Hashanah. But what did he do? He pulled it from Rosh Hashanah to Simta. So the Rosh Hashanah wasn't, you can't be kind in Rosh Hashanah because it's not Rosh to be kind. Meshicha doesn't work. You can't use that Rosh to be, but if you're pulling it into Simta, that's already Rosh that you can be kind of.
So that's the upshot.
Wow.
So
the Mishnah could be talking about a Simta. It's just that the Mashiach was done from Rosh Hashanah to Simta in that case.
That's what we're learning, because normally from Rosh Hashanah, now we're saying Gafilu Simta would be good.
Right. Yeah, and we're trying to understand what Rosh the Mishnah is talking about. Yeah.
That's the only one left.
We'll see. There's going to be a few more on the next fine. Right now, yeah. If so, if we're talking about that, if we're trying to prove from the Mishnah Tashma, if you're talking about if the Lekech was smart, telling you a trick, right? What does he do? Rent the space, and it's because of you don't have to schlep, you don't have to break your back. So, and if it's talking about that he started in Rosh, if the Mishnah is talking about Rosh Hashanah, that's the starting case. That's the starting Rosh. What's the next? What do we say in the Seifa? Rent some space, and it's kind of for you. That's a trick that you could do. If you're smart, you would never have to break his back. You have to pull everything. Schlep.
Where's he renting? In Rosh Hashanah?
We're trying to understand that where he's renting it. Now, we're talking about one box of apples, but what's if it was a pallet of apples? What's if it was a truck of apples that he's buying? Yeah, that was on the ground. So imagine he has to do Mashicha now from there across the street to the Simta, or even a block. It's a big deal. That's a huge job.
There goes the food truck business.
There goes food truck business.
Okay, maybe. Use
So-
the stars.
So we're trying to figure out how to do it, so you don't have to break your back. So if it's talking about Rosh Hashanah, Miman Agar, who is he gonna be renting from exactly? Who's he gonna be renting from? If it's talking about Rosh Hashanah, how can the lekech rent space in Rosh? It's not yours to rent or rent out. So the Gemara says, "Hachikamar v'im Roshus Bailim." If it was in the Rosh Bailim, so it's not talking about Rosh Hashanah. This is a separate thing. That let's say the buyer goes to the seller's house, and the seller says, "Look, I have these apples. How about them apples?" And the buyer says, "Yes, I want to buy 25 cents an apple." And the buyer says, "You know what? Instead of me having to pick up these 500 boxes of apples, I'm gonna rent your storage container, and I'll be kind of like that." So if it's mekayma, so not necessarily is the Mishnah talking about Rosh Hashanah. That brings proof, that according, okay, fine. So that brings proof, again, going back, that not according to Ravasi, again, we're trying to prove Modad v'yinich al gabi simto loy kone. Fine. Weiter. Rav Shmuel, the Amr Tavayo Caleb shall Odim claim. Rav and Shmuel both agree. Top of pay hey Omad Aleph. Fine. Fine. Caleb shall Odim claim. A person's Caleb is claimed for him. Paul Makim. Wherever Rishus puts Rishus Arabim. Okay, we're going further into Rishus Arabim. What type of Rishus is kind of for you? What Rishus is not kind of for you? Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Damar Tavaya, I feel Rishus Arabim. We have another two opinions that both agree that Rishus Arabim is kind of for you in your Keli. Yeah, your Keli Rishus Arabim is kind of for you. Thank you. Amra Papa like Pligi. Seemingly they contradict. Rapapa says, no, I can explain it how everyone agrees. Can we just all get along? Yeah. Kan Rishus Arabim, Kan Besimta. Over here talking about Rishus Arabim. We're talking about our Simta. In Rishus Arabim, it's not kind. In a Simta, it is kind of, that means if you put your Keli down in a Simta and you're measuring the Keli is kind of for you. So the Gemara asks, if so, by my correlate Rishus Arabim, if you're trying to explain to me that Rabbi Yechanan or Rabbi Shimon Lakish is talking about a Simta, why did they call it Rishus Arabim? Gemara answers, She'en Rishus Yachid. They're trying to say that it's not Rishus Yachid. Yeah, they just said Rishus Arabim, meaning to say it didn't belong to anyone specific. But the exact case of the Keli being kaina is in a Simta, because the Simta is a place where people could be kaina with their Keli. Achinan Mistabra, the Gemara says it's also logical to say it. Yeah. Dam Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi says the name of Rabbi Yechanan, Keli Shadam Kaina Malay before Mokem Sheish Le Rishus LaNichai. What does Rabbi say in Rabbi Yechanan? That a person's Keli is kaina if he has Rishus to put it down there. Yesh Le Rishus in. He has Rishus to put it down there. Yes, it's kaina for him. Ein Le Rishus. If he doesn't have Rishus to put it down, like it. Yeah. So in Rishus Arabim, you're not allowed to just put your stuff down. Therefore, it's not kind of. But in a Simta is a place, the alleyway where people do have Rishus to put stuff down. There's a lot of business dealings happening, like our friend over here said. Yeah, things are going down. But Shpamina from here is Kashima. Now we're going to talk about, again, we started talking about, so
what's the final conclusion?
That in a Simta, if your Keli is kind of for you, because you do have reshus to put it. You have permission to put your stuff down in a simta. So it's not mamish reshus. It doesn't belong to anyone, but everyone. It belongs to everyone. Meaning, say everyone has the rights to put their stuff down. In reshus harabim, you can't just put your stuff down. Yeah.
Belongs to everyone, but not for use by everyone.
Right. If you put your stuff down in reshus harabim, someone trips over it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know how it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work in a sim. We have to see in a simta about the laws of damages, etc. How they're different than reshus harabim. But over here we're talking about kinyan. Fine. Again, so we're talking about this transaction that's happening. Reuven is buying from Shimon a huge amount of apples. Let's say he's putting here's $500,000 worth of apples. Reuven's buying from Shimon, and Shimon is making how much percent is he making on it? Let's factor in the Aina. Who's good at math? How much Aina is he making?
How much, say the number again, he bought?
$500,000
Yeah,
worth of apples.
yeah. So
25 cents an apple.
Yeah.
How
So
much?
it's a quarter of 500,000. So it's 250, 125,000.
120,
2 million apples.
2 million apples.
Oh, times.
Oh,
Quarter.
You mean in, I thought you meant the much apples, not the
So
word.
how much would it be Aina? Like 1/6 on top of that. What is 1/6 on top of that? 1/6 of 500,000.
400,000. 6.
100.
That's a fifth.
No, that's it.
That's a fifth.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's 4 and 5.
It's 300,000.
Anyways, fine. Let's not get complicated. Tashima. I remember this when we thing. Yeah. So this transaction is going down. Huh? Transaction is going down. And
333,000.
Okay, 6.
330,000. Okay.
333.
But I'm talking about on top of this. Talking about on top of it. Fine. But you're talking. Fine. Say this transaction is going down. So when can you back out of the deal? When did it happen already? And you have his chayvus again, and people could be putting their life savings
When
down
you
on this investment.
Turn the corner.
You turn the corner. Okay, let's see.
When you sell the money,
When you sell the money, the deposit.
once you sell, it's gone.
Once
Yes,
once
I think
the money
exactly.
passes the hand to hand, that's it. Huh? That's the law over here, no?
Can't get
But
back
if it's a
to that.
deposit, then you just lose the deposit. But what about the rest of it? Yeah. It can really affect people, Tashima. We're going to learn now about the transaction, when it actually is valid, when it becomes
Unless if they pay with crypto.
play with crypto. If it went up, if it went down, the crypto. Yeah. Right. Actually, I'm in the we have this smicha program, so we actually also launched with my uncle Ziv Tamir from the watches and jewelry, Ziv the watch guy, So we had a customer this week who wanted to pay with crypto. Actually. So I told him crypto's not doing so well now. I don't know.
Yeah, we
He's like,
learned
yeah,
that
it's going up. Don't worry.
someone purchases something, actually Bitcoin crypto is a very good case, and then the value of that crypto goes up or down
Yeah.
after it's back. It's like, oh,
We have in the laws of Aina, we have that. If you make up a price with Aina, but then actually the product actually increases in value, so you really didn't charge what we had that.
That's coming up, right?
Yeah, fine. Tashima, Arba midas v'meichene. Hey, Omad Aleph. 3 midas in sales, right? There's 3 stages. 4. There's 4 stages in the sale. Actually, smaller, right? So let's say Reuven is buying apples from Shimon, and Shimon is filling up Reuven's jug. 1, 2, 3, but it's not fully. Actually, the meich still belongs to the meich. Once the jug is filled up, it already belongs to Lekea. So if anybody wants to back out, if he filled it up, it still belongs to the Meichel. Lekea can back out. If it's already full, I said I'm buying a case of apples from you and you're putting them in and it's not full, it's full. So then you already bought it because we agreed upon a price. We agreed upon the amount of apples. I gave you the full product. Can't back out. Medra Marmudim. When the measuring cup doesn't belong to any of them, right? Doesn't belong to anyone. So therefore, what's kind of is the agreement and the transaction, like the actual giving over of the product and the handing over, yeah. And therefore it makes a difference whether I give you the full product or not. But if it belongs to one of them, Rishon Kana. It's kind of whatever you put in is kind of, you put one, it's kind of for you. 2, 3, however many you put in is kind of for you. When is this talking about the Shusarab? Right? The public domain. Or in a culture that doesn't belong to any of them. But if it's put into the shus of the meicher, the seller, right, so if the purchaser comes,
We have 2 million this morning, so we can get the prematurely.
yeah, I'm finishing. Yeah, a few more lines. Fine. But if it's in the shus of the maker, so the lekech is coming to the maker's house and he's saying, "Hey, let me buy your apple." Like not enough that the seller counts, gives him the full product because it's still in the maker's domain. Transaction didn't happen. Very nice. You're showing me your apples in your house. But if he lifts, if the purchaser lifts it up or takes it out of the shus, then he's kind of. What's about the other way around? What's if it's in the shus lekeach? Let's say the seller is coming around house to house trying to sell his apples, and he comes into lekech's house. He's knocking on doors, cold calls, yeah, and he says, "You want to buy some?" So he's in the lekech's house. As long as he agrees on the price, that's it. His chatzar is painted for him. Right? Now, what about a third scenario? Okay, we spoke about if it's Noshus Lameicher. Spoke about if it's really Kea. What's it? Huh? Yeah. What's if it's in Rishus Hala Hamufkadim Etzlai? What's a third party? Third party that he's holding the merchandise. He's holding the apples by his house. And the Meicher Lekech both come to his house and they're doing a transaction of it. Yeah? He's guarding these. Like Kana Achi Kaba Olav. It's not clear until the third party agrees that his Rosh should be kind of for the Lekech. Or he actually is or until Lekech actually rents part of that place of the third party. Then it's kind of because it becomes like his Rosh. We're talking about Rishus Rabim or a chatzar that doesn't belong to any of them. My love, Rishus Rabim Mamish. Seemingly, it's talking about Rishus Rabim. My answer is loy simta. It's talking about a simta. Which is similar to a chatzar that doesn't belong to both. So Gemara asks, "My chatzar she'ena shel shneim." What does it mean a chatzar that doesn't belong to both of them? Yeah, seemingly doesn't belong to each of them. So we're not saying that it doesn't belong to any of them. It's saying that it belongs to both of them. Yeah. So it's like Larasham points out, my love is Shus Rabim Mamish. Yeah, on the top. Like we said before. If it was talking, when we say that it doesn't belong to any of them, right? Exclusively to any of them, yeah. Yeah. When we say that we're talking about my lot. So we're talking about a chassid that doesn't belong to any of them. What does it mean a chassid doesn't belong to any of them? Seemingly, it's talking about a shusarab. And therefore, it could be kaineh. Meaning to say that if you put one apple at a time, like Rashban points out, you put one apple, then another apple, however many you put is kaineh free. So we see that Rosh Hashanah is kaineh. Answer is no. We're not talking about that it doesn't belong to any of them. We're talking about the tar value. It belongs to both of them. I will stop here.
Thank you. Excellent.
Have a wonderful day.
Yeah, I left you with the.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How does this?
I don't see Tal, and right now there's not enough for 2 million, but I'm getting ready.